I'd like to introduce you to my newest product, the Core Phonics Survey, the class version. I have the individual version up in TPT already, and this is the class version. So this is if you're using the Phonics Survey with your class of up to 30 students or your team of intervention students, whatever it is you're grouping. So you can have up to 30 students listed on one sheet, and you can use that to help you group your students. So let me show you what it looks like. And if you have any questions at all, please contact me. You can shine your scanner, your phone camera at this QR, and that'll take you to all of my contact information, my email, my website, the store, and of course the YouTube channel. So let's look at the Core Phonics survey. Okay, the Core Phonics survey here, this is a Google Sheet that is used to collect data and organize data and summarize data. I have instructions, so the various sheets are listed down here on the bottom. And remember, Google Sheets is like a pad of paper where each sheet is another paper that you can flip over. So the instructions are here. It's listed across the bottom. The summary is next to it. I have a page called verbiage that's what you can say, and then I have all the various students. To navigate to the sheets, you can just come down here to the bottom and tap on it. Or if you can't see it, you can go to this little tab here that's called All Sheets, and you can scroll through to find the sheet that you want here. Okay, so on the instruction sheet, I have a link to a PDF of the Core Phonics. If I'm assuming you already have it, but if you need a version here, I have that would look like this. You can link to it, and it's someone has this up online. It's there so many places. That's one version, or here is another one. And what I have for you is a link to a forced copy of a Google Slides that has each of the parts listed on a Google slide. So here, this would force you to make a copy for your own, and it's just a very plain background. So you would make a copy. It's a very plain background, very plain, and the font is very plain. And you can change that however you want. So what I do for my students is I find out their favorite color, or I find out something that, their favorite superhero, whatever, and make that into a background for the slides by coming up and going to slide, edit theme, and here I can change the font, I can change the background color, I can put an image in. I'll grab the image and put it in as with high transparency, so it's just a faint image. But you have all the words here in each of the slides. So, and I don't have the instructions written on each section, but you have the instructions. So this is just so that you can show this to your student. And this is done in an 8.5 by 11. You can print it out if you want to and show it that way. But I just show it to my students. Anyway, so you have that. So it has that here for you to access. You can make a clean copy of this sheet, this whole Google Sheet, for each class that you're going to test, or each period that you're going to test, or every year, or if you do this twice a year or 3 times a year, you can make a copy for that testing situation. When you go to use this, you're going to go to the summary sheet here, put your name in here as teacher, whatever the class is, second grade, third ELA 22 to 23, or if it's your RTI group, whatever it is, and then the dates administered. And because it may be administered over various dates, I don't have it collect the date from the tests, just put it in there. And it has here the list of all of the skills that you test for and across all of the students. And it collects the data from the student's test. So again, it collects the data from the student's test. You do not input data here. It collects it. So when you go into student one, and I would say his name is sample one, and I've given this test, and here are the scores from this test. You just go in there and check that it's correct, and you have a column to check for what they said instead if it wasn't correct, or whatever your notes might be, like BD confusion, or gave two sounds for J instead of just one for a J. Whatever it is that you might say, you can put your notes in here for each section. And what I do that's a little different from the core, the way it's written, is that I have a separate total for the real words versus the nonsense words, because I want to know whether they've just, happened to have memorized these words, or as opposed to they're actually able to decode with those sounds. So uh, 11 of 15 is different if all 10 were correct and they happen to get one of the nonsense words versus, they missed four just across the the whole test. So I like to keep the nonsense and real as a separate subscore just to help inform me of what's going on. But as you're going through, you just check, right? Or uncheck if it, or don't check it if it's not correct. And you have a column, you can write in what they said. So if they wrote in suit, if they said suit instead of sut, you could write it in here. And that's true for each of these cases. The verbiage for each section is either listed here in the down arrow, where you can see what you're supposed to say, or for this whole section here from E through whatever this is, it's just linked here because I didn't want to put it in for each one, so it's linked here. But it's all written out on this page that says verbiage, so you can always get to the verbiage of what you're supposed to say and what your feedback can sound like. So in each section, the scores are totaled for you based on your input. And in this section here with multisyllabic, it tells you whether or not to continue. There's instructions in the about when to discontinue. So if they've answered so many of these correctly, then you can continue. If they haven't answered so many correctly, you stop. So that's built in here for you, so you don't have to think about when do I stop and when don't I. It's done for you. So once you've administered the test, all of those scores transfer here to the column. And the name that you gave the student transfers here. So I called the student sample 1, but if I were to name him, if this were John Smith, that name would transfer here to the summary. The part that does not happen automatically is it does not rename the tab. You have to do that on your own. So if your first student, the student here is John Smith, you would want to rename this tab. You have to go to this down arrow that's next to the tab itself, and it says rename, and you would type in J. Smith or whatever it is you're going to type in as the name for that sheet. Okay, do you see? So that does not happen automatically. You need to do that. And you would rename each sheet as you give it. The beauty of having the um, all the students here in one sheet is that uh, I can group my students based on skills. So if I see that students, these students really are at this level, you can grab the column and move it. So to grab a column, let's say this student should go with this student in this group, highlight the column up at the top till you get the hand. You see the hand there? And then when you click again, see the hand, it's like it's closed, like it's grabbing it, and you can move it over. And so you can put like students together. I'm just going to put that back. So you just grab the column, move it over, and so you can group your students and see how you want them. Like I want these students together because they're all at the CVC level, or these students are all still struggling at the whatever level. And you can group your students by grabbing the column to move them. I also want you to see that the support needed here is color coded in here. So for each score, every time you have a score, if they're at benchmark, it shows up as green. If they need strategic support, it shows up as yellow. And if they need intensive support, it shows up as red. So that happens for you. So you can easily see, okay, these guys are all at benchmark here up until this level. These guys are, need strategic support at this level or intensive support at this level. You can use that to help you group your students. Okay. The other tip I want to give is that once you've given the test, you want to protect the sheet. And I do that because as I'm going through and I'm looking and I'm looking at this, it's really easy to accidentally uncheck something. If, my cursor happens to land there and it's like, oh my goodness, I just changed the score. So once I've completed giving the assessment, and I can make notes down here for the assessment, I go to protect the sheet. And to do that, you come to this down arrow by the name of the sheet, go to protect sheet, and it's going to ask a description. And I might just say completed or done or today's date or John Smith or whatever it is you can say. It doesn't really matter all that much, but you're going to protect it. I'm just going to write in done. And you're going to set permissions. So they allow these protections to restrict who can edit the range. That's if you're collaborating. You might want to do that. But for me, when it's just that I don't want to accidentally make a mistake and change something after I've completed it, I put show a warning there. So now, and you can see that it's locked here. So now if I'm looking at this sheet and I accidentally leave my cursor there and oh my goodness, it's going to give me a warning that says, hey, are you really trying to change this? And I can change it. I can say, yes, I want to change it. Or I can cancel and say, no, I didn't really want to change that. That was a mistake. So it protects the sheet. So that's what I like to do. Um, and even when it's protected, you can make changes. Like I can come in here and write notes here, and I can say, really slow down at digraphs, let's say. It's going to say, did you really want to change it? I'm going to say, yeah, I really do want to add that note in there, but I'm not going to make a mistake accidentally of accidentally changing something uh, when it's completed. Okay, so you have up to 30 students. All those 30 students, we will populate into here, and you can group them by grabbing the column and moving the column. Okay, I hope that's helpful. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And again, if you need to contact me, this is my contact information. I hope that's helpful, and let me know if you need anything. Thanks.